To start making maps for Bloodthief, go to the Bloodthief Steam page, click on the cog, go to Properties, and enter this command into the launch options. Enable _custom_maps. Make sure to have these double dashes at the start. That will enable custom maps in the main menu, as you can see here. Let's open this up. Now this will load the skeleton custom map, and mainly just here so you can load into something. And when you press escape now, you can see custom map file, but we're going to need a map file for that. So let's go and make a map. We're going to need Trenchbroom. So you go to this link here, Trenchbroom, you scroll down, you see releases on the right panel, and that's the version. We can scroll down and then into assets. This is where you'll find your application. And so here you just want to pick whichever one is appropriate for your operating system. I'm going to go with the Windows 64. Then you also want to download this file right here. You can find this in the Blodgeville Discord server, which I'll have linked in the description. Once the files have been downloaded, it should look something like this. I've moved both zip files into the same folder. I can now right-click one, extract all, click next, and do the same for this one. I'm also actually going to open this in a new tab because I don't need that folder. I'm going to bring that into here. Delete that and delete the zip files. So with the folders extracted, open up the Trenchbroom folder in a new window. Open up Games, and here simply drag and drop the BloodthiefMapping folder into the Games folder. Go back to the root folder of Trenchbroom and open up Trenchbroom by clicking the .exe. And we're going to trust this. Sure. Click on New Map, open Preferences, and click the BloodthiefMapping options, and set the game path to be the folder you just inserted into Games. So Games, BloodthiefMapping. Hit Apply and OK. In the Select Game menu, we select Bloodthief. We can just leave this as Valve. Click OK, and we are good to go. So once you're in Trenchbroom, you can operate your view using your WSD keys to move the camera around. You can hold right-click, and this will rotate your camera. And if you hold Alt, it will slow down your movement, and Shift will speed it up. To make a new block, let's first just delete this by selecting it with left-click and clicking Delete. We can make a new block by first selecting the shape. We're going to make a cuboid. So to make a new entity, you select the starting point, and then you hold left-click, and you just drag until you have your desired shape. And with our shape created, we can select it. We can go to the Scale tool, and then select the top face of our mesh to make it a bit taller. You can move the mesh around in numerous ways, such as by picking up the mesh with the left mouse click. You can also hold down Shift to restrict it to an axis, or use your arrow keys to move it around. So to make a room, we're going to select the mesh, go to Edit, CSG, and then click Hollow. Alternatively, you can just click Ctrl-Shift-K. Now our cube is hollow. And with that, we can add the following entities. So first we want to go to the Entity tab in the inspector. And now two things are essential for making a map. One of which is you can search Layer Start. You just drag and drop this into our scene. And to make the end, you can right-click your mesh, go to Create Brush Entity, go to VT, and then End Level Area. And to make it invisible, we're also going to want to change the texture for this. So you can search for Clip, the Clip texture. I'm also going to make the room a bit bigger by selecting the surrounding blocks, by holding Control and then selecting the different blocks. Now simply left click and drag to make the room bigger. Finally, go back to the regular tool and place it in front of the opening here. Also going to move the player into the center. And one last thing is I'm going to create a light by right-clicking the view, going to point entity, VT, and sublight. And I can go into the properties of this here, and you can add multiple to this by clicking this plus symbol. That will add a property, and you can add light energy. And this will determine the intensity of the light. Set this to 2. All right. It's not much, but it's a level. So what I can do now is I can save the document, and where you put this is not too important, but you want to make sure you have an accessible address. So I'm just going to make a separate folder in this Bloodthief folder I've got called maps. I'm going to call it first map. Save. So now I'm going to find my map, first map. So I'm going to copy the path to my file by right-clicking File, Show More Options, Copy as Path. So now if I go into Bloodthief and paste this into here, it does not work because by doing what I just did, you'll get these quote marks, which you don't want. So I'm going to remove those and build map. And here we are. Now, at the moment, you can't set the medal times, but what you can do is very quickly make changes to the map and save it and just click build here again. But let's go ahead and make some more changes. Firstly, I thought the room was a bit small. So to scale up my room, I'm simply going to select all and scale it up. That gives us a lot more room to work with. And of course, not being too careful here about the dimensions of the wall. I'm also going to move the end wall a bit further out by holding Shift to lock myself into this axis, like so. And then go back to the scaling tool. I'm going to select these 4 walls again and left click to pull out to make the room a bit bigger. I'll go back to the general tool, and by holding Control and pressing D, I've now duplicated this little tunnel, and again by holding Shift you lock yourself to the axis. I'm going to make a little gap here for our Bloodthief and then move this to where it should be. So now I'm going to add a point entity VT, and I'm going to add a generic knight. He's going to be on this side, and on this side I want to add a vial. So I'm going to add health pickup here. Now to quickly see what this looks like, I can click Control and then S to save. Open up the game again, click Escape, click Build. And of course it's very dark because I've not added a light to this side, but there he is. I can charge onto him and I can complete my map. So I'm going to move the light into the center here. We can also add another property to this, which is called Omni Range, which is the omnidirectional range of the light. And I'm just going to make this 10, and to hopefully spread the light a bit further. And again, I can hold Control D to duplicate, left click, and then hold Shift to move it in this axis. I'm going to rotate the camera, holding right click, and move it further in here. And of course we need some lava below here. So I can duplicate this floor, I can move it out, and by holding Alt you can move this down. And then move it into position. Again, we right click, create brush entity, and we make this into a lava. And then we go into face, and in material we can now set this to be lava. To scale it properly, you just click this to reset the UV alignment. All right, saving, and let's reopen the game. The map, So we can see that the light is a bit bigger now, but it's still very dark. However, the lava is not. Let's quickly add another light here. And build. There he is. Perfect. Now, we might want some extra functionality added to this game, like, say, have a door. So we could add a door by first creating a new block to act as the door. So I'm going to copy this, Control D, left mouse click to move, and then Shift to lock it to the axis. Place it here. I'm going to give it the door texture, this one here, and then reset the UVs. And now I could right click, create brush entity to give it some unique functionality, and you can set this to mover. Now in the entity properties, you want to add a new property, call this target name, and in the value this is, we'll just call it door1. This is simply just to have a reference for a later trigger to call upon. For translation, meaning the direction will move the door in, you can look at this gizmo here to figure out which direction you want to go. Now, right, 10 here is going to move 10 units that way. We still need a way to trigger this. And at the moment, there's no way for it to be triggered. So I'm going to add another block, moving it into position, right click, brush entity, VT, trigger area. Add a new property, call it target. And then target name is, of course, door1. We're also going to have to make this invisible. So again, we go to face, and we select the clip material. And reset the UV alignments. Save, rebuild. There we go. And yeah, walking into the lava kills you now, as it should be. You can charge over to him, kill him, and that's it. Now, of course, you don't have to make this a clip brush. You can have it be any other sort of entity, as long as you add the target key and the name of the door you want to trigger. So you could add a bell that when you interact with, you also open the door. And that's simply just by doing a point entity VT and finding the bell. Again, you just here under target, add door, and that will trigger the door. Now, if you want to make some big adjustments here, you can make a new block that covers all of the things you want to manipulate. So T to make it big, go under here. So if I wanted to make any changes to this first part here, I can do this. Now this will select the entire first room. If I now click Control E. So now I've selected the entire first room. I can go to the moving tool, hold left click, and then shift to move it to wherever I want. I'm going to move it a bit further back. Click save and rebuild. And here we go, a perfectly naturally moving door. And now this I can jump over, but can also just charge. Of course, you want to wall in your map a bit more. There's also one final thing I want to show. If you go to the sublight, you can change the color by adding a property light color. What? Okay, well, hopefully you find this. I just randomly moved this and the color range appeared. So once you've made the key light color, you can click this float value. And then by clicking the triple dots, you open up the color picker. Let's make this light a nice bloody red. Save. There you go. Very atmospheric and spooky looking vial. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I will have a variety of links in the description, such as for Trenchbroom, for the official Discord. There is also the Bloodthief modding and mapping server. And if you want more instructions on how to use Trenchbroom, there is a series by dumptruck_ds, which I also will have linked in the description. All right, thank you for watching.